All right, we're going to get started. So thank you very much for being here. Welcome to our webinar, Empowering Nonprofits with AI, Maximizing Profits with Limited Resources. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here and present this contemporary topic to the field. My name is Alex Filippelli. My pronouns are he and they, and I'm one of the co-project directors of the LGBTQ TA Center. This webinar is being recorded and it will be made available to CRDP grantees on the LGBTQ TA Center website following the webinar. And before I turn things over to our presenter, I just have a couple of slides about the project and our funder. The LGBTQ TA Center is hosting this webinar. We provide no-cost training and technical assistance to 6 grantees funded through the California Reducing Disparities Project. And the aim of this project is to implement and evaluate community-based programs that support mental health among California's LGBTQ populations. Since 2016 and through 2026, our staff and consultants will work intensively with grantees to promote strategic planning, effective program implementation, rigorous evaluation, successful scaling up of projects, organizational staff leadership development, and ongoing financial sustainability. And CRDP is funded through the Mental Health Services Act of 2004, which imposes a 1% income tax on Californians who earn over $1 million per year. The initiative is administered through the Office of Health Equity by the California Department of Public Health. In all, CRDP supports the implementation and evaluation of 34 programs addressing the mental health prevention needs of 5 priority populations: African Americans, Asians and Pacific Islanders, Latinos, LGBTQ+, and Native Americans. Participating community-based organizations are implementing community-defined evidence practices, or CDEPs, that have shown positive results for reducing mental health disparities. The immediate goal of the project is to invest in these CDEPs and evaluate and validate the practices to provide credible evidence of their effectiveness. And the long-term goal is to support the replication and dissemination of evidence-based programs that serve communities that have historically been unserved, underserved, or inappropriately served by the existing mental health system. And now I'm going to actually turn it over to our presenter, Norris Chevrier, who is actually going to introduce himself. But please join me in welcoming him here. Take it away, Norris.
Hi, everyone. My name is Norris Chavarria. I'm a coach and consultant. I've been doing fundraising for about 20 years or over 20 years. I used to do it at the actual nonprofits, all sorts of roles in fund development. And now I get to do it one-on-one with nonprofits on a consulting basis and a coaching basis. Norris Knows is my consulting business, and I want to make the distinction between consulting and coaching. Consulting is when you're advising. So sometimes I mostly advise with CDRP. And then coaching, Queer Compass is my coaching business. And this is really guiding someone through a process. So not taking the ownership of the fundraising campaign, but really coaching individuals through their own campaigns and getting them where they're at in terms of their goals. The learning objectives are just to get a basic understanding of AI, some of the applications that nonprofits can use, and just get comfortable and familiar with them. Identify some of the tools that you can actually be using today, and maybe some of you already are. Taking into consideration costs. So these are free or lower cost tools. And I also want you to start developing strategies and thinking how you can actually use all of these in tandem when you don't have, an extra person or the money to have that extra person to execute it. What is AI? In the chat, if you have any words that come to mind when I say AI, would you mind typing them in the chat? Let's see what you guys are thinking about. Scary robot. Money. Ooh, money. I'm curious about the money piece. Hopefully it's about fundraising. Mystery. All right. Money maker. That's the mindset. I need you to be a moneymaker. All right. So artificial intelligence or AI involves like it's a human double that's not human, right? It's artificial intelligence. So it's really tasking a machine with these tasks that you might not have an extra person to do. And that might be decision making. For nonprofits specifically, we're going to be focusing on automating routine tasks, analyzing data for insights, and also enhancing donor engagement or donor communication. See there anything else? Time saver. Yes, absolutely a time saver. So for this webinar, we're going to be focusing on 3 tools. The first one being ChatGPT. Raise your hand if you're familiar with ChatGPT. All right. The second tool we're going to be using is Canva. Are you familiar with Canva? And the last but not least is MailChimp. Are you familiar with MailChimp? Yes, all 3. All right. So just a basic definition of them or description of them. ChatGPT is a language AI system. So it's all text, it's all copy. It's a chat. You could use it as a virtual assistant. And let me step out of here so I can show you what it looks like. So this is what ChatGPT looks like. It's nothing fancy. It's pretty much just a chat. And I'm going to give you an example. So these are some of the prompts that are already the most helpful, most useful for people. And that's why they have them down here. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on this one, write an email. And it'll start writing email. This is just a basic example. I have not prompted it anything besides just write an email. Okay. Now, I have an activity for you. So, and I'm actually gonna kind of kick it off first, I guess. The activity was to create a fundraising appeal for a big day of giving in June. June 30th is the launch date. And the group activity I wanted you to do is create and draft an appeal, design it in Canva, and then execute it in MailChimp. So since this is a small group, what I would like you to do in the chat is type in, let me give you a description of what the campaign is and what the organization is. And in the chat, if you could give me some words or some prompts that might be helpful for ChatGPT to pick up on to write this email appeal. So Drag Storytime is an imaginary nonprofit that organizes weekly story sessions led by local drag queens and kings at your local library. It emphasizes LGBT themes across. Those are the books that they're reading. The funds collected from this campaign aim to boost the organization's national visibility and support a U.S. tour. The fundraising target is set at $100,000. So I'm going to read that again in case you didn't hear it the first time. Drag Storytime is an imaginary nonprofit that organizes weekly story sessions led by local drag queens and kings at your local library, emphasizing LGBTQ plus themes. The funds collected from this campaign aim to boost the organization's national visibility and support a U.S. tour. The fundraising goal is set at $100,000. So that's the basic information that I'm giving you. And thinking that ChatGPT is a language tool, AI tool, what are some prompts you think would be helpful for ChatGPT to start creating this draft? And please feel free to enter in the chat. And I'm just going to type in the information that I just said into ChatGPT. Let's see what you have in terms of prompts for it. Remember, the assignment is to create an appeal, the campaign. A fundraising goal. So constant contact is very similar to MailChimp. You need to include all the background. You just said, yep. Create a proposal. Great. What else? What's the proposal? Okay, describe the impact. Yes. Very good. For key messages. All right. You forgot the most important part. This is a letter. This is an appeal. Right? So that's the information, and you can, ChatGPT is very intuitive. So you can put the information before or after the prompts. It'll pick it up. So remember, this is like your virtual assistant. See what it comes out with. Oh, yes. Parameters. All right. So just by looking at it, this is very long, right? Just by looking at it, this is very long. As you know, when you receive an email from organizations, from people, you know you're not reading the whole thing, right? You need bold lettering and bullet points. But let's take a look. Dear donor, it's not personalized or reaching out to you today. An exciting opportunity to be part of a movement that celebrates diversity. How about everyone just read it at their own pace? Christopher, what are some parameters you want to create? I'm just going to say, hey, chat, this is too long. Any thoughts on the second version? To create donor levels. Okay. Yeah, please feel that you're not muted, so feel free to chime in whenever you need. So Christopher suggested donor levels. This is a great strategy point. If you know somebody can donate at a certain level, you ask them for a certain level. You don't go lower, because they will go lower. Yeah, brainstorming ideas for names. That's great, right? It's all related. It's all relevant to direct story time.
I would say an option would be asking for it to make different regions. So if we are starting off a small organization in California, you're going to have to tailor your email to be like West Coast, East Coast, just because there's different ways of interacting with people on a national level. Create two different, ask it to create 3 different emails based on geographical region. short emails based on geographical region. And then from there, you'd be able to go ahead and say like West Coast, East Coast, and Midwest or the South. And then from this, I would say you're just going to pick and choose and make it customized so that way you can have your donor levels in it, but then you can also make it so it's by region, community, and traditional focus. See, so this is where you're going to hit them it's not super generic, but there it is.
So it just gave us 3 versions, right? Of this appeal. And Matilda, can you put this all together for each region? Stephen, what do you mean by prompts or asks? ChatGPT or?
Oh, I was just wondering. So let's say I didn't even know how to ask the correct question of ChatGPT. Would I be able to say, hey, what are the most commonly used strategies for an email of this type? And then would chat, sort of like a super advanced Google, would ChatGPT be able to search what those are and then give me like a list of those strategies? And then I can say, incorporate these into an email concerning the show. Does that make sense?
So you can. That's like starting from like 000, where you like know nothing about fundraising.
Yeah, 100%.
But yes, you can. It'll generate. I could just do it too. The problem with the more focus you get in on your questions, the better results you'll get. Remember, this is searching from like all of the internet, right? So it might pull very basic information, which then you're going to continue and digging for an answer. But since you have me here, we could kind of focus a little bit more on certain strategies and efforts. But as seen, it'll give you some strategies, engaging or leveraging social media and digital marketing, building partnerships and community engagement, multi-tier donation structure, which we just got from there, utilizing personal stories, organizing fundraising events, employing email marketing, and peer-to-peer. Great. So let's say that, we have any more questions actually on this on ChatGPT. So ChatGPT again is based on language. It's I see it as a virtual assistant. And I ask myself, like, if I had a double that could create content or ideas or some kind of copy, how can I use ChatGPT for this? And again, this is just your first your foundation, right? You're going to go into it. You're going to personalize it. You're going to input your information for your organization. If this was a real organization, you would actually put all the facts. What are the benefits of direct story time? How does this impact each city, each region? And yeah, this is just a quick overview in ChatGPT. But any other questions on chat?
Just one more question. Is this the free account or is this a paid account, this version of ChatGPT?
There is a free account. And the free account comes with less prompts. So right now, I just asked it a whole bunch of questions. I think there were like 5 prompts, maybe. So there is a limit on the number of prompts. And there is a paid version where you can increase the speed that it reports back to you, and you have unlimited prompts.
Thank you.
You could use it for anything. This is just fundraising, but you could literally use it for anything. For planning a trip, for Okay. Next, what I wanted to show is the design piece. So this is Canva. There's also a free version and there's a paid version. The free version obviously will have some limitations, but even with the limitations, there's so many possibilities. And so you click on the tab. This is very intuitive. What would we like to create? So what are we creating for this appeal? Are we creating an email? Are we creating social media? What is it that we're creating for this campaign? Feel free to sort it out or enter it in the chat. Oh, Canva is free for registered nonprofits. I did not know that. So amazing. Thank you, Brenna. Right? Yes. Social media. So we're going to create some social media. Let's be a little more specific. What is going to be our platform? There's so many platforms out there. Now, in thinking of this campaign, right, it's drag story time. What are some things that are gonna, what are some design elements or what are some graphics or ideas that you have that might make this story pop out to people? Who are these people who know about drag story time? Yeah. And where can we find more of them? I'm gonna probably younger demographic. Okay, so where is the younger demographic? Are they opening snail mail? So Instagram. Well, okay, so I'm gonna let's see. Fundraising, drag story, Instagram post. Another black corn. Okay. So on the left side, you'll see that I don't think they're familiar with drag story type. So they have very limited options here. But as you can see, they picked up on discrimination, right? Which is one of the words here. Yeah, stop discrimination. So suggest some of these themes, where you can easily insert, take away some of these things. Let's try now. Let's see. Fundraising. Stay down post. Let's see what it comes up. Oh, let's see. It's their fundraising brochure. So here's some suggestions. Again, these are templates based on both what people have created and just on AI, what it picks up. What does fundraising look like in general? Charity Foundation has all the key elements where you can just insert your photos, your text. This is a brochure. It'll give you both sides, the inside and out. With LGBTQ, let's put LGBTQ fundraising too. So I just put Pride fundraising. And this is a whole different set of templates that it spit out. Anyway, I asked it to be more specific. So social media, it could be Instagram, could be TikTok, could be Facebook cover, could be a Facebook event page, could be Eventbrite, could be so many things. And it's really important to know what you want because these are the dimensions, right? That Canva spits out for you. Versus Facebook posts. Let's do LinkedIn. See, so for LinkedIn, this is a very different image that it spat out than for Instagram. Looks a little more formal. It's still cute. Of course, still we're hiring from LinkedIn. But it gives it a different style, right? A little more elegant, not as busy. What are other places where you can find donors that we might be able to use Canva for to reach? That's right. Let's do newsletter. Let's see. Email newsletter. But because we weren't specific, this is on it. Spit out templates. Again, you can insert and take out what you need. The other cool thing about Canva, besides the AI functionality, is here you can type that what element data you want to kind of replace it with. So if you like the format, you can go in and change different things. This is supposed to be a rainbow, but it doesn't look like a rainbow here. Any questions on Canva? Or what are other templates that you might be looking for to reach your audience on Canva?
Sponsorship packets, which I am working on.
Great one. Sponsorship packets. Let's see what it gives us. There it is. They're giving us anything. What are other another way of doing it is membership. Membership levels. So make sure that. I want to close out of this whole thing, but there's another way of searching. but there are ways of, I don't know the search words right now, but there are ways of searching for those different tier categories that you mentioned for sponsorships. All right. The last tool that I wanted to share with you, which some of you are familiar with, is MailChimp. For Constant Contact, I am sharing my my MailChimp, which is not active, I see. But these are some pre-built automations in here. And this is a tool that you use to automate your communication. So both personalizing, whether it's inserting someone's first name, last name, all those details, and also segmenting your audience. So let's say somebody gives $10 to your campaign. You want to start creating these levels in fundraising, $10, $25, $100, depending on whatever your organization, how your organization fundraises. And actually, Constant Contact is also able to segment it for you using their analytics. Some people use this to track their donations. Other people use this in tandem with tracking their donations. The donation portal, receives the money. That's all the money transaction stuff. And then you then you give that information to MailChimp. This person donated $10, so they're going to be in the $10 category. And that's in their audience. And depending on the different tags, so one of the tags, for example, the $10 tag, $25 tag, you will have to manually enter that. And then for your future campaigns, that's already tagged in there. And with that, you could just target a campaign automatically once you have that segment in there. It also tracks your growth. If people share their links with other people, I don't pay for the service, but demographics, it'll segment age groups, sex, gender. It'll track who opens, who doesn't open. This tool is also just good to clean out your emails. If you have an email database that's X years old and has 1 million people, but no one's really giving, this is a great way to clean it up so you have good data. Any questions on this? This I didn't think I was going to open MailChimp. So if you could ask me any questions on MailChimp, go ahead. I'm not too familiar right now with these sections because they just changed them. Any questions on MailChimp or personalized communication?
Does it create an entire email for you, like graphics and all? Or is it more like the AI is more of just who to target?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more personalization and execution of the campaign.
Is it easy to switch from using Constant Contact to MailChimp and importing all that the list and data maybe about who's opened what? Or do you have to kind of just get the list and then wait for MailChimp to accrue that opening data?
Well, why would you be you should ask yourself why you're transferring from email marketing things. They have, because of intellectual property, they have similar things, similar functionalities, but they call them different things. So whenever you do that transfer, I would just advise to clean your data as much as you can, because you don't want to be transferring, if it didn't work on one platform, it's not going to work on another platform. But it has very similar functionalities in it.
Got it. So you do the cleaning and contact before you would pull the data list into. Got it. Thank you.
It does. It reports back bounces. So if an email address doesn't work, bounce back, spam. If someone reported you as spam, those emails you obviously shouldn't transfer onto another thing. It automatically takes it out of the list if people do check off that they don't want to receive anything. So it automatically also cleans up your data.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I know we've been using contact, and I don't know if MailChimp would be good. Very good. Thank you.
Or just a preference for most. The other thing I would have mentioned too, and I think it just launched Gemini on Google Suite. So I don't know which nonprofits actually use Google Business or Google Suite at Workspace. They just launched a whole new AI tool that they actually do a little bit of what ChatGPT does. So let's say you send me an email and it's a donor who shows some interest, right, in donating, but they want a meeting or they want some kind of follow-up. There's a functionality, the AI little logo, where you can elaborate. There are different options that you can choose from, whether you want to respond in a formal way, whether you want to elaborate, or whether you want them to the AI system to rewrite the email for you. And because, again, these are all AI tools, you want to train them, right? You want to train them in your tone, what the messaging is, so that they can refer back to that tone of what your messaging is. So it doesn't come back as basic information or basic text. Do you want to go over it? Because I think it's really important. And it's really understanding the drawbacks or some of the hesitations, that at the beginning, some people did say. So one thing is bias. As you know, these technologies are created by a certain type of person who's sitting behind the computer, typing all these things in, and also aggregate data. So inherently, these systems do have biases in them. The other thing is, because it's aggregate data, whatever you put into it can also be spat back out. And so please be aware of confidentiality. Some people do use this for, let's say, if you're collecting surveys from donors or surveys from anything. I know that people work in behavioral health, so you can enter that information without identifying the client's identifying information, and it'll analyze it for you, ChatGPT specifically. The drawback is, or what you should be aware is not to actually enter identifying information, because once it's in there, you don't know where it's going to go. So treat it that way. So confidentiality and whatever your organization and your funders pay close attention to what their guidelines are in terms of that. Any questions on this? My, full disclosure, my original presentation, I was going to have people break out into smaller groups and actually just do the whole campaign using ChatGPT, Canva, and MailChimp, and then present back as a peer-to-peer learning opportunity. But time, and we didn't know if everyone had access to all these tools. But as a follow-up, we could maybe have something like this where you have some time to play around with the software and then kind of work peer to peer with individuals that you don't usually work with to create these campaigns and have a round at it, if that's of interest.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We definitely offer a second part that's more of an applied learning or some office hours or anything like that if folks are interested. That's really great. Thanks, Norris. There's a question here, Norris, from Brenna asking, what tips do you have to write prompts in ChatGPT?
So two things. I think the more specific you are with what you're asking for, as you saw, the first email was very long. And so if you want it to be 1 page, 2 pages, depending on what the document is that you want out of ChatGPT. So the more specific, the better. You want to give it as much information also. Think of it as, I'm trying to think of, or, grant writing, how there's a word limit. And then that's all you have, right? So think of it that way, where you have this one chance of giving it all this information and spitting it back out to you. So that would be my best recommendation, to be as specific in terms of what you want out of it, how you want it. Yeah. And, I've seen a lot of videos on like the prompts and all these things about prompts. I just think that it starts getting familiar with you, like the tone, your voice, all these things that are not basic. So the more information, the more you treat it like a person or a virtual assistant, the better. Because then it's like your double, and it kind of gets you. Though sometimes it'll just not get you at all. Well, I'm going to type in my email address down here. If anyone has any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you're an organization that I do not work with, and this might be helpful for you, or any type of fundraising support, let me know. Reach out. That's it from me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Norris. This was great. And then if you have any questions or would like to get in touch with us, please do so. You've got Norris's contact info, and I will also put my email on the chat here. There we go. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.